Hello, everyone. Good evening or good morning to our viewers in India. We are so excited to have this wonderful opportunity to meet the artists of our featured presentation, RajRang Colors of Rajasthan, and the artists of RajRang and Rupayan Sansthan. And in addition, we have here with us tonight Shubha Chaudhuri, who is the director of Archives and Research Center for Ethnomusicology at the American Institute for Indian Studies. And without further ado, let's bring on our wonderful guests. Hi, Shubhanti.
Good evening, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be on board. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here and being awake at this time. And helping us facilitate this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, I think.
Is it okay to bring on our artists?
Absolutely, I think. And we can introduce Kuldeep ji, who is with us.
Yes, and we have Kuldeep Kotari, who is the secretary at Rupayan Sansthan, and he has done so much work to organize this event and to bring our artists here this evening or very early in the morning. So bringing them on.
Good evening and good morning.
Good morning.
We also have musicians from Hamira joining us. As you can see on the screen, we've got Khete Khan with Firoz Khan, Dara, and Anwarji, all there joining us live from Hamira. So it's quite wonderful what technology can do and bring us all into the same room.
Yes.
And we all know each other for a very long time. So we look forward, Ashwaty, to your questions. Maybe Kuldeep ji can introduce a little bit of the work Rupayan Sansthan has done with his father, Komal Kothari, who I will also be talking about later. But if you can just talk about what Rupayan Sansthan has been doing, it'll be very useful for those who join us.
Well, welcome all of viewers on behalf of RajRang Rupayan and Mandla and artists from Rajasthan. And we are live from Arunachala Desert Museum. In the beginning, I say, I thank you, all of viewers and the artists of Rajasthan, who has really given them a big hope that soon everything goes normal and they would perform what they were used to do. And regarding our collaboration, we do hope that Bhakra Arts and RajRang Rupayan will bring more performing arts of Rajasthan in the future with a lot of workshops, seminars if possible. My submission is that and thank you once again to see our live Langas and Manganiyars program next to this meet. And Rupayan, as you all know, that was instrumental in promoting the folk performing arts of Rajasthan. Not only Langas and Manganiyars, but there are more than 40 such performing communities in Rajasthan who researched and done documentation with the help of our friends, scholar friends, and from all over the world, who has been taking this very hard work with for the last 60 years, which is a long period. We cannot sum up everything in a few times, such a short span of time, but I think we'll just go to the artists and listen what they feel and what they can do. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing the history of Rupayan Sansthan and all of the work that you have been doing in your father's legacy as well. Yes, I think us viewers in the United States are very curious to know more about the musicians and maybe have some understanding about the instruments that they've brought with them today. Maybe have a demonstration and get to know these instruments better before we hear it in concert.
I think we can introduce everybody. We have, though not, it was not planned to separate the two communities because it just depends on where people were situated. So we have all our Langa musicians in with Kuldeep ji at Rupayan, and he can maybe introduce each of them. As we're going to say, we have some of the major veterans who are known very well to international audiences. But in this, we have also introducing young generation, young musicians of this new generation from the Langa community, who you will hear later on. So, Kuldeep ji, if you could just introduce each one of them.
Yeah, I'll start from the younger one, which is a big hope for the future. We have with us Saddam Khan Langa, who play fabulous sarangi and has a lot of experience with working with other music also. And we have Sadiq Khan, who is a young percussionist who plays very good dholak. And our eldest artist Habib Khan Langa, who's from the who plays Algoza, Satara, Morchang, Sarangi. He's a versatile player and has mastered in almost all the instruments. And with us, we have Shafi Khan Langa, who is the father of Saddam Khan Langa, who plays Sarangi, Sindhi Sarangi. Uh, so this is it, and I hand it over to Shubha.
Haj, we can move over to Hamira. Uh, we have, I think we go from left to right. Firoz Khan Manganyar. Firozji, he is a very interesting mix of one, the only percussionist I know, an excellent dholak player, maybe the best in the community, who also sings very well, as you will hear later on. We are in the home of the very legendary Sakar Khan, who was awarded a Padma Shri, but also various other things. And in the community is really known as the most iconic player we have. And we are in their home. And Firoz Khan and Dara Khan are his sons. And we are all in their home. Dara, as you see, plays the kamaicha, which is an instrument. Maybe he will play a little bit for us later. This instrument is peculiar, is only played by the Manganyar community, and Komal Kothari of who's established RajRang as well as Rupayan Sansthan did a lot to revive this, to keep it going. But sadly, now there are very, very few players left. So we are very fortunate to have Dara from this main family of Kamaicha with us today. On the right, we have Khete Khan, plays the khartal and is the son of Peppa Khan, who's also known to older generation of the audience quite well. And last but not the least, our chief vocalist for the evening, Sri Anwar Khan Manganyar, who has been awarded the Padma Shri by the Government of India this year. And but all of the others have also got various awards at various time as young musicians. So I think we can get step back from the introductions and start speaking to them, or maybe Habib has been earlier with Rajrang and with other audiences. Maybe he would like to say a few words. Would
आपने
you-
देखा गया राजधानी से अपने काम किया वो केड़ो लाग
बहुत ही अच्छा लाग रही है, बहुत ही बढ़िया लाग रही है और बहुत हमारी मतलब जान पहचान की भी दादा बजो दादा बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है हमारे वास्ते। अब दादा कमल दादा बहुत अच्छा काम करी हो उन वजह मैं आज आते तक पहुंचा बस। और भी आगे बढ़ने की इच्छा है।
Yeah. I think everybody is very pleased to be here. And even for us, for me and Kuldeep, it's our first to be online in such an event. And it gives us all hope that we can recover from this crisis brought along by the COVID situation. Everybody is doing a little bit online, I think some Facebook Live and so on. But I don't think we've had a event of this scale and opportunity given to us by Mandala. So we are all very, very pleased to be working with Pranita again, which they all of them have done this before with Mandala, and to also meet Ashwaty. So I think it's a great thing. I think that what we saw over the last few days of putting this performance together was it's not just the financial opportunity, but to feel that there is a platform when you cannot perform uh, in your normal way. But I think what they have missed very much is being together, which this brought. So just being able to record for this performance and bringing them together at Arna Jharna, which is the desert museum of desert cultures of Rajasthan, established again by Komal Kothari, whose name you will hear a lot of times this evening, because he's really the force behind all of us being here today together. I worked with him for many years as well, and continue to work with Kuldeep and with all of this group. So I think if we can move on to the group in Hamira and ask any of them who would like to say a few words. कुछ कहेंगे ना आप, अनवर जी, खेता, जो जिसको भी कुछ थोड़ा कहना है.
नमस्कार, सबको प्रणाम। हमें बहुत खुशी है कि आज हम हमीरा गांव में उस्ताद सागर गांव पेपा खान के घर में यहाँ आज बैठे हैं मॉर्निंग टाइम में, और रूपायन की थ्रू कुलदीप जी कोठारी का शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहते हैं, और शोभा जी और प्रणीता जी जो हमारे लोक संगीत, जो हमारे बुजुर्ग कई पीढ़ियों से बुजुर्ग गाते बजाते आए, अपने गांव में बसे हुए मंगनियार जाति के कलाकार, लंगा कलाकार, गांव में बसे हुए कलाकार सब आज जो ये 19 कोई के हम घर में बैठ करके गाते हैं बजाते हैं, और कोई प्रोग्राम वगैरह नहीं था, तो ये पंडिता जी ने बहुत अच्छा समझा कि ऐसा है, कुलदीप जी से बात करें कि भाई आप अपना ऐसा करें, तो ये जितने कलाकार लंगा और मंगनियारों को पूरी दुनिया में दिखाएं और देखें, और उनकी जो कला है, उनका जो संगीत है वो देखें लोग, और जो पुरानी चीज है, जो पुराना वाद्य है, पुराना जो गीत है, जांगड़ा, तो उनकी बड़ी मेहरबानी पंडिता जी की, उन्होंने ये रखा प्रोग्राम और हमारा लोक संगीत दिखाने के लिए। ये जो महामारी चल रही है, हम इसमें जल्दी ही उभरेंगे और इनको हम भगाएंगे, और ये हम वापिस इसमें आएंगे और थिएटर में भी आएंगे, और जो भी हमारा कार्य चलता है वही चलेगा। आप बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
Maybe it's time we can have a little demonstration of what each of the instruments sounds like.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Can we begin with Kuldeep uncle and our team at Rupayan Sansthan?
So I would like to start with Habib, who is leading the group, and he will be playing Algoza, which is in double flute. You can, as you will see, these are like two equal flutes, and there is another which is Doda, which is 1.5. So one is equal and another one is one full and one and a half. So he'll be playing Joda, and he'll be showing a rag of Bhairavi for a minute or so. Next is Shati and Saddam both will play Sindhi Sarangi, which is a very evolved instrument, has more than 27 strings, and they will play they'll play a rag called Hamaiti.
I would like to say one thing here.
Huh?
I would just like to explain that the flutes played by Habib ji, they use a method of circular breathing with the two flutes because they keep both the flutes going. So it requires circular breathing. And one of the flutes provides a constant drone, and the melody that you hear is played on one flute. So that's how this works. So this might be interesting while the sarangi players are setting up. So this is as we call it, the Sindhi sarangi. It's a little different from the classical sarangi, though similar in a lot of ways, and is really uh, played by the Langa community. There are few Manganyars who also play it, but it's largely played by the Langas. And in fact, there are two subgroups in this community called the Sarangya Langas and the Surnaya Langas, and and there are a few musicians from this community. Mehdin Khan was not with us, and Habib Khan, who are Sarangya Langas, who also play wind instruments. Therefore, every time you find that you create these rules and classifications, there are always the exceptions, which makes this tradition so much richer. So we can move on and hear the play this Sindhi Sarangi, which you will now hear.
Thank you so much, Saddam and Shakil. Both of them, they used to say that the sarangi has 100 colors. You know. So it's a beautiful instrument with such a melodious sound. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we move to Hamira now.
Ah.
I was thinking that as we are going to hear we are going to hear the music a lot more. It would be interesting to hear Anwar Khanji to sing something very different. मैं सोच रही थी कि एक शुभराज उनको सुनाए तो कैसे अलग कुछ होगा. As we are going to talk about this later, both these communities are part of a very elaborate patronage system called the Jajmani. Each of the communities has a patron community, not a good word. Patron makes it sounds like people who are way above and very rich, which is not the case with all the Jajmans, but they are in a relationship with another community to provide them musical services in exchange for which they get supported in a number of ways. Now, this has been a very, what has probably kept this music alive because the real connoisseurs of their music are among their patrons. And as we'll hear, all the repertoire is also around, has developed around the needs of the patrons. But one of the things that it just struck me we will not hear is what is called the Shubhraj, which is what in both these communities they will recite for their patrons. It's like a genealogy of the famous, which singles out the famous individuals in that lineage. And it is very striking to hear. So I think if we could request Anwarji to recite the Shubhraj before we move on to the instruments, it would be interesting because we are going to hear him sing in the program quite a bit. But this is something different which we will not get a chance to hear. अनवर जी आप शुभराज कर सके तो बहुत अच्छा हो. म्यूट हो गया.
थोड़ा धरती में भैया गांव में मुझे जजमान भाटी राजपूत उनका शुभराज है बाग सिंह परिवार का. उगत सूर बसकत कवाण सुर नर सेव करंत तो देखा बकलो चना पाप का झाड़ी पड़त जन दन कृष्ण जलमियो काटण प्रति कलंक वंश क्षत्रि समोय न कुल जाद मन कलंक काशी मथुरा प्राग भड़ कृष्णेरी भटनेर दुगा मदिरावर गद गंजनी नमूद सड़नेर लटकत कलंगी लाल हलराठे मणक हिले मौदिठा मही पावड़ जादमा थब्ब त्रिसण राव बड़ा वीर विराल बड़ा दुराव राणा उदय पृथ्वी मोदी पियो नाम पुगो दुर्ग राठौड़ कुल मोड़ दीपे दुनि उदय सिंह भाटियों भौण उगो गढ़ा केवाड़ बखौन चढ़ती कला बनाड़ी दार खड़ती सपादा कर्ण रुद्रंग पात श्याम मोटो कियो राम रूद लो बने राजा इन घर मोडियो बपंग उपराचार जुग राखियो नाम चढ़ताओ एक बड़ हस्ती हजार नींद हर लाख भड़क सोन हर लियो दस लताओ कि दो दोन रो मुजबो भारी है कार अंध्र काली बाणी दोन बादल सा सुबदी बिसिक धाट बिंद बेरी साल रुपयो सुद्रवत भयो दा कह दुनिया ने जोने दस हिद देश बाग सुत बडो हर कंवर बिसिक बादे आविया चौगाड़ा जाने चित या बडाल बखाणो के स्वरूप बनो पख तो अखरी बुदो की तो नगर आवरो जो प्रभु प्रभु मुगा माल माल रस धनी सदा चंद हरा कुर्ब मोटा हुआ नहीं है पटाना सतुज तन होड़ कसरा घोड़ाए जंग तुसरा कराए सीता कवि बंद करे धना कीर्ति रा कोड की दो जनरो मुजबो भारी है कार अंदर कड़ी बड़ी दोन बादल सौ शिव जी बिसेक खामा धरा नाथादि साम मोटा घमंड कसाता जादम जैसान पात अन्नाता.
नमस्ते. थैंक यू अनवर जी. अब as we are being told, I think the Consul General in Chicago is going to join us. So we will break and please listen to him for a little bit before we move on. It's a wonderful honor for all of us to have him join us. Thank you, Ashwaty.
Yes, we want to introduce the Consulate General here in Chicago, Amit Kumar, and we are so thrilled to have him be a part of this program. So bringing him on.
Thank you, Ashwaty. Let me begin by extending a very warm greetings to all those who have joined us today. I'm very happy to be here at this virtual music collaboration brought to us by the Mandala South Asian Performing Arts in Chicago and the Rupayan Sansthan from Rajasthan. For several years now, Mandala Arts, led by Dr. Pranita Nair, has done admirable work in introducing to the audience in North America the diverse dance, theatre, and music forms from the Indian subcontinent, encompassing the classical, the folk style, and the contemporary traditions. The Rupayan Sansthan in Rajasthan has been in the forefront at archiving, documenting, preserving, and supporting Rajasthani traditional folk arts and culture. Mr. Komal Kothari briefly talked about their mission, and I just also wanted to thank Ms. Shubha Chaudhuri for her insights during this program. Together, we have here a musical journey from the traditional Manganyar folk artists from Rajasthan. Singing songs about the desert, about the deities and festivals, they create a haunting melody using traditional music instruments such as the khamaicha, khartal, dholak, sarangi, or the algoza. On a personal note, I had the opportunity to witness the Manganyar performance in Berlin almost 16 years ago. To say that we were all mesmerized would be an understatement. Since then, I have had the good fortune of attending a few more of their performances over the years. We have several eminent artists joining in for this wonderful evening of Rajasthani folk music. We just had a brief discussion with them where they shared and introduced their traditional art form and what it means to them. I'm certain that the viewers will enjoy their distinctive style of almost hypnotic music, also featuring traditional music instruments. I once again wish to thank Mandala Arts for this collaborative venture and showcasing this wonderful Rajasthani traditional folk style to the wider audience in this country. Thank you very much.
All right. So we are going to begin introductions to our presentation tonight. We are proud to present RAJ RANG Colors of Rajasthan, which is a unique virtual performance featuring two professional hereditary caste musical communities, musician communities, the Langas and Manganiyars. And this presentation is a collaboration between Mandala South Asian Performing Arts, Rupayan Sansthan, the Rajasthan Institute of Folklore, and finally RAJ, the Thar Museum Desert. Thar Desert Museum. And so I want to say a little bit about Mandala before we introduce our honored guests with Rupayan Sansthan. Mandala South Asian Performing Arts is a nonprofit organization based in Chicago, Illinois. Our mission is to best serve the South Asian performing arts by presenting programs as educational and entertaining events, classes, and workshops. And we see the South Asian culture as being one that is a traveling series of influences from Persia to Indonesia, from the Himalayas to the Indian Ocean, and as being something very important to our diasporic culture here in Chicago. And so we honor the preservation as well as the contemporization of the arts and the artists who continue this wonderful work. And so tonight we are presenting Rupayan Sansthan and RAJ RANG, which is a unit of Rupayan Sansthan. RAJ RANG is a platform that was thought by Komal Kothari, the late Komal Kothari, who is a famed ethnomusicologist and folklorist. And this platform aims to serve the folk music communities and performing arts of Rajasthan. And they do this through preservation, revival, and dissemination of the arts in beautiful and astounding ways, as you will hear tonight. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Kuldeep Kotari, who is the son of the late Komal Kotari and the organizer of this event, and Rupayan Sansthan, as well as Shubha Chaudhuri, who's the director of Archives and Research Center for Ethnomusicology at the American Institute for Indian Studies. And here they are.
And thank you very much for organizing this from all of us here. I speak for Rupayan Sansthan, with whom I've worked for many years, as well as myself. As you know, and you've already said, RajRang was created by the late Komal Kotari, who was also the founder of Rupayan Sansthan, to provide a platform for the performing arts of Rajasthan. Mandala and Rupayan Sansthan have had a long history of collaboration and touring the artists that we are going to see today. Kuldeep Kothari, who is with us, now heads this initiative, taking forward the vision of his father. It is appropriate that the first online venture of RajRang is with an international collaboration, as Komalda, as he was fondly called, was the person most responsible to bring these rural and yet highly evolved traditions to the urban stage, and was the first to bring the music of Rajasthan to the world. What lies behind this was a lifetime of dedication, of detailed documentation of the many musician castes, and an involvement in their lives. Komal Kothari was also passionate about empowering the musicians and raising their social status from being very marginalized communities to where they are today, being celebrated on the national stage as well. The Rupayan Sansthan has worked with and documented many musician castes. The ones that have become most well known are the Manganyars and Langas of Western Rajasthan, the most remote desert area. Hereditary musician castes are not unique to Rajasthan alone, but are perhaps more part of a living tradition of Jajmani or patronage than other parts of India, at least in current times. The musicians we will see today are all part of this tradition, where you are a musician by the fact of your birth in such a family. All musician families are attached to families of the patron or Jajman castes who support them in various ways in cash and kind. The Manganyars, who are Muslim, have Rajputs and other Hindu castes as their patrons, though there are Manganyars who have Muslim Sindhi patrons. The Langas, on the other hand, are attached to only one patron community called the Sindhi Sipahi. These ties of patronage not only survive but are very strong to this day. Even the internationally acclaimed artists, as those you will see today, maintain close links with their patron families. The musical repertoire of these musicians has thus evolved around the patrons, performing for births and weddings, as we can say, life cycle events, and other important occasions. Weddings are perhaps responsible for the largest part of the repertoire, as they are involved in providing music for the many rituals of a traditional wedding that goes on for a few days. And this is on the side of the bride as well as the groom. There is also a large body of devotional music, songs that are sung for social gatherings, welcome songs, songs in praise of Rajput heroes, ballads, and storytelling, all of which are also used to entertain the patrons at various events, mehfils and revans as they are called. This music is highly professional and sophisticated and has its own system of rags, which does not function like the rags of Indian classical music, but nevertheless has associations of time and occasion. As it is early morning in India now, when we start the concert, you will hear morning rags, and those are appropriate for the earlier part of the day. We have included in this program a few instrument solo performances, a comparatively recent trend, but you will be able to appreciate how an instrument sounds when it's played as a solo or in accompaniment. The musicians we present today are very well known, as we have said, and have performed all over the world. We have the senior musician Anwar Khan Manganyar, who has been recently awarded the Padma Shri, Firoz Khan Manganyar and Darak, who are from the family of the famous musician of Sakar Khan, and Khete Khan, son of Pepa Khan, his brother. So they're all part of this famous Hamira family in Jaisalmer. Habib Khan Langa with us is a veteran musician who has toured extensively, also has a long history with Mandala. Along with them, we are introducing younger Langa musicians to the international stage, Saddam Khan, Shafi Khan, and Sadiq Khan. They are the evidence of the next generation, which is on the cusp of their performing careers. Thank you very much. I think we can now ask Ashwaty to remind everybody to click the next link for the concert.
Yes, thank you all for being here once again and for making this beautiful concert possible. It is mesmerizing, as Consulate General Amit Kumar said, and it can only be experienced. So thank you. Those of you who have not purchased a ticket yet, you can do this at rajrang.eventcombo.com, or for those of you tuning in from India, rajrangindia.eventcombo.com, and you will receive your link to this concert as soon as you purchase your ticket in an email. So once again, thank you. And do we want to hear any more music from now?
I think everybody needs to click on another link now.
Yeah, I think we'll hear the actual music, the actual concert. Okay. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.